And I've got Todd Cravens here with Galaxy Gaming.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I see a lot of familiar faces here. How many people are familiar with Galaxy at this point? All right, so what I'd like to do is I'll try and go through this rather quickly so we have some time afterwards. Basic stuff. So who we are. We always put this slide up here. These are our 4 core values. I've been the CEO of the company for about 6 years now. I send an email out to the entire team every week about what we're going to get done that week. And at the beginning of it are these 4 core values. It makes us who we are. One of the reasons is that we have to do all these things because we're only 46 employees going up against some very, very big companies. So we've been around for almost 25 years. We're here in Las Vegas, so the commute was easy to get here. And what we do is that we make table games. So if you go downstairs and you see table games down there, we will create games from scratch, or we'll take a public domain game like craps or blackjack or roulette, and we'll add side bets to it. So why do we do that? Players are looking for more volatility in their game, right? So if you go downstairs, winning 6-5 on blackjack is not nearly as exciting as putting down a $5 bet and winning $50,000. Why do the operators or the casinos want it? They want it because they want more house edge. If you're a perfect blackjack, about a 1.5% edge. On some of our games, there's 10, sometimes 15% house edge. So players look for more volatility. Operators are looking for more house edge. So we've been around for a little bit. I'm going to get around so I can see this thing. We went into a public shell in 2019, and in 2011, we made a big purchase buying 21+3. 21+3 is the #1 blackjack side bet in the world. Between 2011 and 2019, we had some interesting times. In gaming, it is a highly, highly regulated industry, which means that you have to go through various states and give them all sorts of information to make sure that you're not a bad guy. So as an example, every state in this union has 10 years of all of my credit card statements, all of my checking accounts. They go next door sometimes and talk to next door neighbors, et cetera, and they do that for all key employees. But between 2011 and 2019, our founder had some regulatory issues. And what that means in our world is that if you start to teeter in one state, the other states start to look at it, and it's kind of a zero-sum game. Like you either need your licenses, but if you start to lose one, bad situation. So in 2019, we did something a little bit out of the ordinary, and we redeemed the founder. Right? He owned 60% of the company. We went out and we said, here is a note. We're going to start paying you on this, but we need you out of the business. And within the next 6 business days, we got 3 new jurisdictions. So we kind of knew what the situation was. As you can imagine, lawsuit engages. We go back and forth, and then in 2019, towards the end, or in 21, we settled that litigation. But in between, we also bought a distributor of iGaming product called Progressive Game Partners. And that was really the thing that kind of got us jump-started into another vertical called iGaming. So what do? Our business is 99% recurring revenue. So when we sell something in the land-based side to a customer, it's usually a monthly fee for a side bet or a monthly fee for the progressive systems that we put out there. In the iGaming world, we actually take a percentage of the net gaming win. So they have 100 people bet, they pay out 80, there's $20 left. We take a percentage of that every single month. We have some of the best brands in the world. We have 5 of the top 7 side bets for blackjack in the world. We have the #1 craps game and bonus craps in the world. Our stuff is very, very well known, and we have pretty healthy EBITDA margins. Not satisfied with that. But the one thing that I also add into every single one of the weekly emails is the Net Promoter Score. And so a good company, Apple, I think, is like at 69 or 70 for their Net Promoter Score. And basically what a Net Promoter Score does is you're asking your customers, what's the likelihood you will use this good or service again or recommend it to somebody else? Over the last year, we have averaged 97 on that. And when it slips, it is an issue. So we take that stuff very, very seriously. And then I have been around for a bit. Our CFO has been around for a bit. We've been banged up and bruised, COVID and the redemption and all. But we're pretty aligned with you guys in regards to what we want to get done. Bless you. Let's talk about land-based. So this is what you would see if you saw one of our tables. So this would be some of the bets that we put on here, right? And then this is the progressive system. So a progressive system works where we put some electronics on there. You bet $5 and the meter goes up, right? This gets back to if I can bet $5 and that right there says 68,000 pounds, that's why customers come or players want to play our games. So how it works is let's say you have a base game. So you've got blackjack here. We'll add one side bet. That's a billable item. Typically, especially if you go downstairs here at Horseshoe, now it was Bally's, or Paris, you'll see two side bets, two billable items. When we put a progressive on, typically we put 1 or 2 meters, so you now have 4 billable items per table. This is how the land-based business works for us. Some of our customers are all the people that you would think of and some of the people that you might not. Carnival Cruise Lines is one of the largest casinos in the world. They have, I think, something like 600 tables throughout all of their ships out there. In the EMEA world, these are smaller, more casinos out there. This Les Ambassadeurs is in an area of London called Mayfair. And we have progressive systems in there where we have 3 sensors, 25, 50, and 100 pounds just on the sensors. And 70% of the time, they bet all 3. So this is where we are land-based. As you can see, mostly North America, a little bit over in the UK is our second largest market outside. And then we do, surprisingly, you'd be surprised that there's a lot of casinos in Cairo, and that's where we do pretty well. So what's the upside? The upside is that we are in about 1 of every 7 casinos in the world right now, so we still have a little ways to go. So basically, how do we grow the business? We need more casinos. We're in roughly 500 casinos today. Like I said, we're in 1 of every 7. We need more to get into more family game titles. So one of the things that we've done in the past is we spent a lot of time working on, say, poker games or derivative games. When you put those into a casino, you get 1 or 2. If you have side bets for blackjack, you can put 40 tables out there. If you have something for baccarat, you can put it on 20 tables on there. So one of the big focuses that we've had is to get into these game families that have larger TAMs, something like baccarat. So we had a real focus on that starting last year. And by the end of this year, we will have built that into a 7-figure recurring revenue business. We like baccarat because we have side bets, and every baccarat table, if you go down there, also has a display, another billable item. Then we have to add more products per table. So this kind of comes back into a new system that we've just launched over the last couple of months called the Galaxy Operating System. It allows us to now offer more than just straight progressives like we've been able to in the past. iGaming. So in many of the areas throughout the world, going online and playing on a casino is been old hat for 15, 20 years, especially in the UK. And 15, 20 years ago, if you walked into a UK casino, you walked in there, 21+3 and perfect pairs were on every table. So when the iGaming guys started, they said, we need 21+3 and perfect pairs on every table. Luckily for us, right? Because when you start with something, it's hard to dislodge it. So right now, as I mentioned earlier, we operate in the iGaming world, and we own 5 of the top 7 blackjack side bets in the world. Reason that's pretty good is blackjack's the #1 game played throughout the world, and we do a really, really good job with that. But basically what you see here is what we call an RNG game, or a graphical representation in regards to the game. Think of it as a video game. But the biggest part of our business is live dealer, right? And so basically you log on to DraftKings in certain states here, or log on to a number of operators throughout Europe or Asia or South America, and you literally go to a place where they've got a sound stage of, in some cases, 400, 500 tables, and there is a camera on that person And you can go back and forth with them in the chat box, and you're playing what they call live dealer. Of our iGaming business, it's about 70% of what we do. So some of you guys might have been in here earlier. I think the Bragg did a presentation. They're a customer of ours. What you see here are a lot of B2B guys. And then when you think of DraftKings, those are the B2C customers that you would know out there. So before we bought PGP, you can see that there were a lot of layers in kind of the economic high stack here, and we were kind of here. After we did that, we got rid of the PGP fees, and basically online casino, let's say it's DraftKings, and they work with Evolution, and we had to deal with Evolution here, and then we take a percentage of what they did with that type of thing. This is still happening now, but the other part is that we're also licensing directly to some of the online casinos now. So as an example, we licensed our game Bonus Craps directly to DraftKings. They went out and built out the game. That launched, I think, in Q4 of last year, and they're about ready to launch Andrew Dice Clay's version, who does the voiceovers of it and things like that with Craps. So one of the things that we like to do is where we can, we want to eliminate other layers where we're paying other people. That could be a situation of a distributor. It could be a situation where there is another ownership within some of the content. So at the end of last year, we bought 100% of the rights for Bonus Craps. So what do we want to do? We want to go and own or create all the best table game content, wrap it in tech, and then push it through different channels, be it land-based or be it iGaming. When you look at iGaming, it's a whole lot different, right? So we're in North America. South America is probably one of the fastest growing iGaming places in the world, and then throughout all of Europe and now starting in Africa. But when you think about North America, this is what everybody's getting really excited about. There's only about 11% of the U.S. population that lives in the state that has iGaming. There's something like 38 states that has sports betting. Sports betting has a very, very low margin. It's about 4%, 5%. That's not the case for iGaming. You've even had some of these sports operators pull out of certain states that say, if we can't have iGaming to kind of offset what we need to do, we're not going to do it anymore. So we love Canada. We're all across here. But as you can see, there's a long way to go. We had nothing really open up in the end of 22, or we don't have anything planned of any states opening in 23. But I do believe in 24 we'll start to see some more states open up. So give you an idea of how we do in the iGaming. Last year we did over 2 billion bets, right? We're on well over 1,000 casinos. And when you think about all of the revenue, including all the slots and everything like that in the iGaming business in the U.S., we created 2% of it. For the table games business, that's pretty good, right? So we like this business a lot. It's a very high margin business. We're basically licensing our IP and taking a percentage of. And we still think that there's a lot of upside. And I'll get to, at the end of this, what you should be thinking about in regards to, how are we doing moving forward. So basically, this is just more of really what we want to do. We think that there's a lot more that we can be doing. There's markets for us to go into. Again, we're only in 1 of 7 casinos throughout the world. Channel expansion. I talk about the fact that we're in land-based. I talk about the fact that we're in iGaming. iLottery is a much bigger business than the iGaming side. We have to get some of our content in shape to do better in that. And then we have the social side of the business. So long term, I think we should be in all 4 of those channels. So on a revenue trend, basically, since Harry and I came on board, what we have strived to do is to say we want to grow the top line revenue in the mid to high teens, and we want to grow expenses at half that. That's really been the mantra as we've gone. As you can see here, COVID was a lot of fun for us. In March of 2020, we actually put out a press release that we were not going to be charging our customers while they were closed. And obviously a big hurt for us. So we've come back. Our guidance for this year is about 26.5. Our EBITDA trends continue to do well here. I think that one of the things that's good for us now, we are in a position where our biggest expense bucket is compensation, and we don't need another Todd, we don't need another CFO and things like that. So as we're adding now, it's salespeople, it's service people, things like that. The next highest bucket for us on expenses is regulatory regulatory costs as we move forward. We have pretty good margins, 47.2 for this year. Which means as we grow quarter over quarter, I'll be very disappointed if we don't hit the 50% EBITDA margin number by Q4 of this year. And the good thing about us is that we spin off a lot of cash. Again, when you're licensing IP, even when we deal with customers in land-based and we license 21+3, we actually don't even make the felt. They go out, buy the felt, and put it on there. So from a cash flow standpoint, we do pretty well. So there's a number of people in the room here that know the story or have been investors for a while. And so I think about, if I'm sitting in your seats, kind of 4 buckets of what I would be thinking about. So on the land-based side of things, it's, can we get back to the pre-COVID numbers? Like, what is the path to get back to 2019? So 2019, we were at, I think, 19.5 somewhere for the land-based numbers. I think we'll be back at that number next year. And the execution on that, part of it has been that we didn't have the right tech, right? And I took too long to put the bullet in the head of a piece of technology to put us back 6 to 8 months or so. So this new Galaxy operating system that we're talking about, if I'm an investor, I want to make sure that Todd doesn't screw up again and that this Galaxy operating system actually works. On the iGaming side, I think there's 2 big things. When you're on pretty much every online casino, can you maintain that, right? Once you get a pretty heavy market share of something, slippage is potentially inevitable. And the second part of that on the iGaming would be, are you just a one-trick pony? We have made the majority of our business just on the blackjack side bets. Can we get into the other families on there? Can we get into baccarat? Can we get into roulette? Those would be the questions. And then the biggest question that I do get from investors right now is what's going on with the balance sheet. So when we did the redemption and settled the litigation, we bought back 60% of the company at $1.68. So we had to go out and raise the money once we did the deal. And so we had to go out. We had a PPP loan that we got cleared up. We had a Main Street loan and bank loan. And when you had those PPP loans and the Main Street loan, you couldn't pay off anybody else before you redeemed that loan. That was part of the deal with the government. So we had to go out, even though it was $40 million to pay off our man, we had to go out and raise 60, right? So that's why when people look at the balance sheet right now, they're saying, well, where did this money come from? Well, 60% of the shares were redeemed at $1.68. So when we did the deal, it feels like a long time ago, and it was LIBOR plus 775. Well, LIBOR was through the floor at that point, not the case anymore. So we also have a 2-year deal where we have a 2% prepayment penalty before November 15th of this year. But we believe that we will be getting back in traditional financing by the end of this year. So cleaning up the balance sheet on the financial side, I think, is the third thing I would think about. And then the last thing I would think about is the team. Over the last several years, this has been predominantly a Todd and Harry show in regards to navigating through some of these issues. But I'm here to tell you, I think the team that we are now building up, we have a cast of characters between their 30s and 40s right now that are getting into a place where they are making real impact on the company. So if I'm an investor, those are probably the 4 areas that I would be monitoring and making sure that Galaxy is doing those things to continue on. I'm open to any questions if anybody has any. Yes, sir. Yeah, so I think the states that are likely to consider it, not to necessarily get through, Illinois, Indiana, New York would be the big one, right? They tried to get something through this year. I think one of the biggest things that has held us back is that these state governments have had a lot of federal government money for a period of time. Pretty soon they're going to start looking around for another source of income. And if you're a state that already has a physical casino, that already has sports betting into it, it's just not a big jump for iGaming on there, right? Yeah. So Asia is probably our fastest growing market in the iGaming space. As I mentioned, we've really focused on Baccarat over the last year and a half or so. From the land-based standpoint, we didn't have the product ready until we started really focusing in on where we are with Baccarat, and we have some ideas of what we want to do with that long term. I would say that from the land-based side of things, we're probably a year away from really kind of focusing in on that. But we have a game for perfect pairs, whatever reason. We threw a blackjack side bet game on Baccarat in the online space, and Baccarat grew 500% in the online space for us last year. A lot of that growth came out of Asia. What's great about that now is you have players that have brand recognition on that game. Yep. Anybody else? Quick, easy, Sam? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a couple places that we have to grow is California. I think we've done a really, really poor job in California. It's the largest table games market in the United States, and we just haven't gotten it done. Part of that is regulatory, but part of it is just, get out there and sell some stuff, right? So California is a big one. Quite honestly, Nevada is another big one for us. We primarily have done very well in locals markets. But when we get into an Atlantic City or a strip-style property, where you have guys that kind of come in, competitors will, do a bunch of stuff to sell a bunch of slots and, kind of throw in a table game for you. We have some issues with that. We've made some changes on the sales side of things. We've made some changes with product. Those are two markets that are heavily focused right now. But those are probably the areas I think that we have to do much better. In the progressive world, I think that we're doing a really, really good job, right? We have just launched GOS, and we have one customer that has taken several hundred tables. Very happy with it. Bless you. Sir. So they did not have a progressive system before. 3 minutes. Can I get out of here early? No, I cannot. Yeah, I think we're probably past that point. So because the other thing is that we have to perform, right? So getting back into, I would say, what we'd call traditional bank financing, like we used to be with Nevada State Bank prior to. They want to see us down to a net debt ratio of EBITDA in the low threes. We're not there today. So I think we have to execute over the next few quarters, show that we're there, and I think that's when we can do that type of work. So even if we wanted to do it today, I think it would be probably pretty hard to get through some credit committees. Oh, yeah. We don't. And when that's where we took a big hit last year, right? It was about 40% of our business is billed in euros or Great British pounds. And so second half of last year was pretty rough on us. If Harry was here, he would tell you that, we don't have a great track record in doing some hedges. We did that with our Nevada State Bank deal. I think we're kind of we're past that at this point. We did everything that we kind of thought about for this year on our budgets. We pegged at $1.07 and $1.21 on the euro and the pound. So we're picking up a few cents back at this point, but we have not hedged. Potentially. No, the way we've raised prices on the iGaming side is they naturally come, right? Because if we're dealing with a larger denomination on the bets, we participate on that because it's a percentage of. Same thing with what we do over in the UK on the items with progressives there. But basically where we've gotten more of our pricing power is that we're putting more billable items per table, and we're able to do some deals that way. So we're getting a collective larger number on stuff where we have zero or no cost of goods. Yes, sir. So in the past, on the land-based side, it has typically been month to month. One of the things that has been a real focus for us are longer-term deals. And I think this year we've signed up, I want to say so far in the first quarter, it was something like 20 multi-year deals in the land-based side. On the iGaming side, those are typically at least 5 to 7-year deals out there. So that stuff's pretty locked in, and one of the things we're really focused on is locking in longer-term stuff with the land-based guys. I think I'm getting the hook. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.